again, my preferred criteria that I like to use are defaults for the bull put credit spreads, sort of what we'd call the picks of the day, the weekly picks of the day for bull put credit spreads. Is this default search looking, 14 days out in time? Well, today it's Friday, so it's looking 14 days out in time, and in general be 11 or 10 days out in time. We'd be opening our positions on Monday or on Tuesday. And, good note there we talked about with the market closed on Friday. I apologize, market closed on Friday and closing early on Thursday. Then we have the opportunity there to get some extra time decay in our favor. So I'm going to definitely, I've had 2 that expired this week. I have 2 that expire next week. I probably want to open 3 next week for the following week. But in our covered calls, in the cash secured naked puts and other strategies, you will see the weekly picks of the day and monthly picks of the day as well. With bull puts, we just prefer to use that 2-week out weekly screen. Tested, that's worked out better for us. On covered calls, you've got monthly and weekly. And, there it is. No, there's Applied Optoelectronics, AIO. There's Nano Nuclear Energy, Rocket Lab USA. It's an interesting one. But you can go ahead and click on see how we developed these results to see how the testing was done, what was done, changes that were made. Essentially 75 to 80 iterations were done for the weekly covered call picks of the day and the monthly covered call picks of the day, using the option criteria, stock technicals, stock fundamentals, running different iterations over different market conditions to see which performed best over time. And that's what we've got there. Those are our default searches. But again, as you saw, the power of the main search tool is you can start with those defaults. My save search is here, but we can start with those defaults, the monthly or weekly picks of the day. And you can take a look at the criteria down below and make adjustments to the variety of different options criteria, stock technicals, stock fundamentals to create a search that matches your personal risk reward tolerance, what stocks you want, and of course, what options you want as far as return, implied volatility ranges, in or out of the money, downside protection. We're still talking about the covered calls, of course, overvalued or undervalued using the different Black-Scholes ratio values, and liquidity. And of course, the technicals you can use: beta, stock volume, average stock volume, stock volatility, RSI, Bollinger Band ranges, Bollinger Band width. We have a lot of customers, I should say, that like to look for those breakouts using that channel. When the percent Bollinger Band width between the Bollinger Bands is less than 10 or less than 15, Ernie likes to look for the breakouts the other way when the stock just jumps above an upper or drops below a lower Bollinger Band breakouts. Those are default searches in the buying calls, long calls, and buying puts, long puts strategies and power options. Stock trading is an uptrend, his simple moving averages, my apologies, folks, historical trends, and MACD as well. And basic fundamentals, of course, market cap, screening for dividend stocks, earnings per share growth, PEG ratios, price per share, avoiding stocks that have earnings between now and expiration, or looking specifically for stocks that have earnings between now and expiration might be used for your long straddles or your long strangles. And same thing for the ex-dividend date. And then the lists, we have a variety of different stock lists that you can screen through. Dow 30 earnings coming up this week, IBD lists, indexes and ETFs, S&P 100, S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, or you can create your own personal stock list that you want to screen against. And as I mentioned, that's available for all the 23 strategies we support. And of course, if you don't see a strategy that you want on your main tab, just click on Other Strategies, and you can remove strategies you're not using or you're not interested in when you first start your trial or you first start your subscription. And then you can add the various strategies available from this side, from short into long versions, covered calls, of course, but also covered puts, the opposite, and naked calls you can do as well, straddles, short straddles, long strangles, long straddles, covered combinations, and much, much more. That's all available for you as well. Lou asked a question. He says, hi, how do I change the moving average criteria to exponential moving averages? Unfortunately, we don't have exponential moving averages, Lou, so you cannot change that. As we saw in the search earlier, let's just stick with covered calls because it's a little bit more basic, Lou. But as you saw earlier, you have that ability to do the different SMA searches in the technicals. So we have ranges where you can screen against the stock price versus SMA 20, or I could look for SMA 20s above the SMA 50. A popular one, of course, is looking for when the 100 is above the 200. I think more popular is when a bearish sign is when the 100 drops below the 200 or the 50 drops below the 100. And you could search for that as well if you're in a bearish strategy. You can screen for the number of days that the stock has crossed above the SMA 20. If I'm looking for a breakout, Lou, I might look for something that has crossed over the SMA 20 or SMA 50, say, in the last 2 days. Or one of my favorite ones to use is when the 20 days cross the 50-day within the last 2 days as well. Of course, you can always look for under that as well. But no, Lou, unfortunately, we only have, I'm sorry, the simple moving averages, Lou. We don't have the exponential moving averages right now. There's no way to screen for that. And we don't have a way to do the multiple moving average criteria instead of one. However, there is a way to do that. If I specifically was looking for stocks that are trading above their SMA 20, but I also wanted a stock where the SMA 20 was above the SMA 50, I could do that. I just can't do an implementation right now of stock trading above the SMA 20 and the SMA 50 above the SMA 100 right now. Things that we can always add, things that we can do. Lou, I'll mention it to Greg. I know you had a couple conversations with him via email this week. In addition to being the CFO, of course, Greg, or COO and CFO. But in addition to that, Greg is also mainly the head programmer as well. So we can see, Lou, if we can get some of those multiple selections for simple moving averages in there. The exponentials right now, we've been hunting. We've been collecting some of our own data. We just don't have a lot of it yet, and there are some problems with that. But we don't have a data source. That's why we're trying to record our own for the EMAs. But we don't have that ability yet because we don't have that much data available. All right? So I can do both, right? I can look for stocks above the SMA 20, and stocks has been over the SMA 50 for 3 days, and the 20-day has been above the 50 for 3 days. I just don't have that same historical simple moving average trend for the 50 over the 100 or the 100 over the 200 or the 50 over the 200, for example. Right? So right now it is just singular and it is just SMAs, but you can kind of double up on that using the historical simple moving trend in addition to just the straightforward simple moving average. Now, that's a good point. A comment came in as you could use the larger one first and then use the smaller ones. And at first I didn't understand that, but now I get it. Yeah. So if my goal was I wanted to see stocks, Lou, where the 100-day was above the 200, but also the stock was trading above the 20-day and the 50-day, and the SMA 20 was above the SMA 50, I would start with the bigger one here on the drop down and then just go 2, 1 or 2, whatever your preference is, Lou, and 2 here. So now you've got a stock that's above the 20-day moving average and above the 50-day moving average by at least 2 days. The 20-day has crossed the SMA 50 by at least 2 days, and your 100-day is above your 200, or your SMA 50 is above your SMA 100. So that's is there anything? When we have other criteria, yeah, they're all there. Okay, so we still have other criteria here, but they're all essentially there and showing up in those results. So that's a way that you could do it to see multiples. I'm sorry, I went to fundamentals. My apologies, folks. That is a way that you could do it. Start with the bigger numbers you want for SMA or stock, even just stock being above the 100. You could do that as well.